I'm Anthony. I've been playing poker for a living since 2019. Hit that intro.
Don't soul roll me if you get quad fours, man.
You folded king, king, jack, jack? You owe me $350. Your money should be in there too.
Did you bluff me?
Would I ever bluff?
I'm leaving out there. I'm on
No,
tilt.
it's on tilt. Thank you, sir. I would not lie to you, sir. I told you I had a full house. Doing the Lord's work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
There's one limper, then a raise to 20, and two callers. I'm in the big blind holding ace-jack 9-4 with 3 spades to my ace. I make the call, the limper calls, and we're going 5 ways to a flop of ace-9-6 with 2 spades. I flop top 2 pair and the nut flush draw. Since ace-high flops are generally attacked by raisers, I check to set the trap. It's check to the original raiser, who c-bets for 40. When it gets back around to me, what are you doing, dude? What in the actual fuck? I just call. I mean, yeah, the original raiser could have a set of aces, but I should be check raising in this spot. The board is wet, and he can't be thrilled about the multiple straight and flush draws present. By just check calling, I give other opponents an opportunity to outdraw me with a better 2 pair or a straight that doesn't give me the flush. I really dislike my play here, and I should be playing this more aggressively. The turn is the queen of clubs. Well, good job, dumbass. Now your opponent may have gotten there. I check, my opponent announces pot of 185, and I make the call. The river continues to get worse for us, falling the king of hearts, and I'm once again forced to check. My opponent checks it back, and I turn over my hand. My opponent shows down ace, queen, queen, 10, double suited in hearts and spades. If I had check raised the flop, oh, who are we kidding? He probably still calls because he's got top pair and the third nut flush draw, and people in Texas do not like to fold. So he'd have made more money off me in the end that way, but on the flop I had almost 80% equity, so I'd have at least been getting my opponent to make a huge mistake against me, and instead I made the mistake. Under the gun is limped in, and next to act I come along holding ace-9, 7-4, double suited in diamonds and hearts. There's a raise to 25 by the button. Under the gun and I call, and we're going 3 ways to a flop of king 10-6 with 2 diamonds. The limper leads right out for $80. Now, unlike the last hand, despite us having flopped the nut flush draw and a gut shot straight draw, there are higher straight draws to worry about, and this board lends itself well to opponents hitting 2 pair or set combinations as well. So, I don't feel my hand is strong enough to put in a raise, and I just make the call. Surprisingly, the original raiser calls, so I guess we all hit this flop somehow. A gut shot's better than a nut shot, bitches! The turn is the 8 of spades. The under-the-gun player continues firing on this turn, which has given me the stone-cold nuts, putting out a little more than a half-pot size bet of 175. Given my remaining stack size of a little over 600, I don't see much reason to slow play. There are still bad river cards that can bring in higher straights or full houses, so I announce pot. The original raiser behind me is all in for 260, and the player under the gun folds. We agree to run it twice, and the rivers fall the ace of clubs and the 2 of spades. The original raiser turns over ace-ace jack 4 suited in spades to his ace, having turned the nut flush draw in a different suit, as well as having a gut shot to Broadway. Still, I had over 70% equity against my opponent for stacks on the turn when the money went in, giving me a solid shot to scoop a pot of over $1,000. Unfortunately, on the second run out, he finds a spade to escape with half. Under the gun is limped, and I'm under the gun +1 holding king-jack 9-7 double suited in spades and clubs. This is one of those deceptively pretty hands. It's double suited with connectivity between the cards to make straights. However, we don't have any nut suits, and there are multiple significant gaps between all of the cards, making this hand much weaker. Add in that I'm out of position against most of the field, and unless you expect no one behind you to raise and you can see a cheap flop and play post-flop poker better than your opponents, I'd prefer most players fold this potentially troublesome hand. Playing it from the button would be a far better proposition. Nevertheless, I call, and there's 2 callers behind us, and of course the cutoff raises to 20.
Make it 20.
There's 2 callers behind
You
us.
make it 20. Don't tell me what to
Cutoff
do.
makes it 20. Yeah, don't tell us what to
Don't
do.
tell me what to do. Should we make it 20?
He who
Did he
hesitates
call?
is lost.
We wind up going 5 ways to a flop.
I got this one
To a
too.
flop.
40, 60,
Nah, this one's me.
81.
I'm feeling this one.
No freaking
I'm
way.
due, man. I haven't won a single pot all fucking
no
night.
way, dude.
The flop is ace-queen-9 with 2 spades, giving me a gut shot Broadway draw, bottom pair, and the nut flush draw. But on a board that will also hit many of our opponents who can show up with 2 pair, sets, and straight combos. I check, and it's check to the raiser who bets half pot of 50. 3 of us call, and we see the turn four-handed. Fuck these a-holes! The turn is the beautiful 8 of spades, giving us the absolute nuts. It's check to me, and given the pot has grown considerably, and I only block one of the potential cards that could give one of my opponents a full house, I go for the full pot size bet of 305. If they want to pair that board, they will pay the maximum to do so.
It was old news. Until it wasn't.
I told you this one was mine. I told you this one was mine, man. Give me the money, man. Give me the money.
Not flush. No, you don't have a flush. You got too bad. You got flush. Or a set ace. No. Trust me. No. He does not have
Thank you, thank you.
Put the camera up.
Oh, it's yes.
Yeah,
It's
you
good
gotta
for the
show the hand for the camera.
Wee. The camera. Well, the camera saw it. The camera saw it. Thank you.
Camera saw it?
The camera. Of course, the camera saw it.
Can I see it for a second?
You guys will see it on my blog in a few months.
Under the gun raises to 10, and I'm next to act, and I just call with mediocre aces, ace-ace 4-3, suited in clubs to my ace. We wind up seeing a flop 8-handed, which falls 10-7-2 with 2 clubs. I flop the nut flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, plus have an overpair to the board. But there are a number of 2-pair, set, and straight draw combinations that we'll need to be cautious against, as the pot is already bloated, and we don't want to just stack off with our flush draw here. It's check to the guy with a shit ton of chips, who bets a measly $20. 6 of us call, and we're going to a turn 7-handed. The turn falls the 10 of hearts. We all check to the player right before the flop better, who shoves for 180.
Check. All in. 5-1.
There's a shove for
180.
180.
180?
180.
That's it. You can just put 180. It's nothing.
You think I'm gonna double you up?
180, man. Nothing.
Oh, it's already on me?
Yep.
Hiya. What's the river going to be? I got to know. Show a 10.
I needed an 8.
I'll show one.
All right,
Oh, shocker.
we made the good lay down. We made the good lay down.
So those were hands from a session where I booked a small loss of $282. Up next is a session on another evening, and we'll jump right in. There's 2 limpers, and in early position I call holding ace-queen, 8-8 suited in clubs to my ace. The hijack calls, the small blind and big blind come along, and we are going 6 ways to a flop of ace-10-5 with 2 clubs. One of the limpers bets the full pot of 30, and with the nut flush draw, I want to pull in weaker flush draws that might pay me off when I hit, so I just call. Somehow there's no one else who wants to see the turn, so we go heads up, and it falls the queen of diamonds. I've turned top 2 pair, but the Broadway straight is possible, and I'm still losing to sets as well. My opponent bets 75, I just make the call, I have position going to the river, so it's alright. Watch me whip, watch me nay-nay, bitches! The river is the amazing king of clubs. I get there, rivering the nut flush. He thinks a bit and checks, and I think I bet too big here, putting out a bet of 200. I should probably be betting half pot, maybe even a little under, so he'll make a crying call just to keep me honest. He lays it down, and we'll take this one. 3 players limp, and the cutoff raises to 25. On the button, I look down at king, queen, queen 10, suited in diamonds to my king. I make the call. The small blind and big blind call, as do all of the limpers, and we are going 7 ways to a flop. The flop falls pretty favorable, queen, jack, 6 rainbow, giving me top set, an open-ended straight draw, and a backdoor flush draw. When it checks to me on this board texture with such a strong hand, I really dislike what I do, which is bet the full pot of 175. I suppose it could look bluffy, but I block a lot of the hands players could potentially continue with, and there isn't much to protect myself from here. I'd much rather see me take a $75 to $80 stab to juice the pot and get my opponent to call while way behind. Who are we kidding? People don't fucking fold here in Texas. The small blind snap calls, one of the limpers calls, and we are going 3 ways to a turn with $700 in the pot. Hold my wine, bitches! The turn is the beautiful 6 of clubs, giving me the nut full house. Both of my opponents check, and I check it back. I'm hopeful that they'll view this as me giving up. Maybe they'll think I flopped top 2 pair, and now I'm worried about the bottom card pairing, or perhaps they'll think I was just bluffing all along, or semi-bluffing with a straight draw that doesn't like the turn. The river is the inconsequential 4 of diamonds, and I'm just hoping one of my opponents gets squirrely, tries to steal the pot, or better yet has a second best hand like Jack's full and can play for stacks. They both check, and I bet 275, but unfortunately no one has anything, and they both lay it down. One player limps and the guy in early position makes it 20. I look down at 10-8-7-6 suited in diamonds to my 8 in the hijack, and I come along. The button, big blind, and limper call, and we're going 5 ways to a flop of 6-5-3 rainbow. When it checks to me, this board texture isn't likely to hit anyone very hard, so with top pair and the top end of the straight draw, I don't want anyone catching up, and I bet the full pot of 105. You could also bet a bit smaller, like 60 to 80, but I don't hate a pot size bet here either. While our hand is pretty strong, it isn't made, and it is vulnerable. I don't mind taking it down now. Everyone folds, and we will take it down now. We're 9-handed in a double board PLO bomb pot. In the big blind, I look down at ace-jack 4-3 with 3 clubs to my ace, and the flops come down 6-5-2 rainbow and jack 8-8 rainbow. I flop the nuts on the top board, but aside from backdoor clubs, I don't have any way to improve my hand, and I'm vulnerable to board pairs or higher straight draws. On the bottom board, I have top pair, top kicker, but the bottom card is paired, so it's not a great situation. I can easily find myself in a spot where I'm being almost free-rolled for my stack. I check. A player behind bets 50. 2 players call. I exercise pot control, and I just call as well. The turns are the king of diamonds and the jack of spades, so I still have the nuts up top, but now I've improved to 3 of a kind on the bottom board. When it checks to me, my hand is still vulnerable to being outdrawn on both boards, but it is likely I'm well ahead on each. With a large pot already out there, I'm not letting anyone outdraw me for cheap. I bet the full pot of 335. You could bet smaller like 200, but I really want to avoid a situation where multiple players come along and someone with an 8 boats up on the river to beat me there, and then a flush draw comes in on the top board and I'm beaten by a second opponent there. I figure if I get a call here, it'll be a player with an 8 that is getting sticky, and I'll have him free-rolled most of the time, unless he happens to have a flush draw as well. There's a few folds, and one player goes deep into the tank, but eventually lays it down.
How much did I give you? That's not enough. There you go. Take care.
Hey everyone, it's Anthony here. This second session, I managed to book a win of $893, and that's going to be a wrap for this week. I appreciate you all tuning in. In a few weeks, I will be heading out to Las Vegas to play my first World Series of Poker events. I'm going to be playing the Badoogie, the 8 Max PLO, and the 3 million guaranteed Gladiators of Poker. I'll be out in Vegas from June 6th to the 14th, so I hope to see you all there, and we will see you in the next episode.
You know, after watching a video like this, sometimes I'll like it, sometimes I'll leave a comment, and sometimes I'll subscribe. Sometimes I'll even do all 3.